Howdy, and welcome to Pipeline. After we got back from Hawaii, we showed some of our videotapes to my friends, and they said we should make a surfing video. So we did. It took about a year to do it because I work for a living and ain't got a lot of spare time to be fooling with this stuff. Since I live in the live music capital of the world, which would also be the capital of the sovereign state of Texas, I went around the neighborhood and asked for some of the local garage bands for some songs to put on the video, just like this other surfing video that I saw. If you don't like the music, then just turn the sound down and listen to whatever makes you happy. You won't, however, be able to hear me explain the significance of the surfing activity you are watching. The Pipeline is a place where surfers have measured themselves against some of the most unforgiving waves on the planet. When a surfer gets hammered here, he not only gets the complete wash cycle, but he also gets bounced off the rocks and coral reefs that are about 2 or 3 feet under that beautiful blue water. So sit back and imagine that you are sitting on the sand at the Bonsai Pipeline and watch some of the best surfers in the world ride some of the best waves on the planet.
Well, I left my home in Texas, looking for a wave to ride. Well, I left my home in Texas, looking for a wave to ride. There was no surfing Corpus Christi, I went to see what I could find. Well, I caught me an airplane, I was Hawaii bound. Well, I caught me an airplane, I was Hawaii bound. When I got to Honolulu, I put my feet back on the ground.
After we landed in Honolulu, my wife and son and I rented a car and checked in where we was staying and drove up to the North Shore to check the waves. We drove past Waimea Bay and went straight to Sunset Beach. It's easy to watch the surf here. You can park on the beach and watch from your car. There were some surfers out, so I set up my camera, which I had gotten a few days before, and commenced to begin to start taking some video scenes of the surfing activity. As you can see, the waves were pretty good size. Huge is how I'd describe them, and the high winds was riding them hard. After we watched them surfers at sunset, we headed back down the road to this here park, which name I couldn't pronounce, but some of the fellas told me that it was called the Bonsai Pipeline. Well, when we got out onto the beach, the sun was going down, but I set up my camera and we watched the surfers. There was some waves coming in. Compared to the usual Texas waves, they was monsters. Well, it wasn't quite as big as Sunset Beach, and I wasn't sure how this thing was going to go. But I had hopes that we would see some big waves while we were here. It was getting pretty dark, so we got ready to go back to where we was staying. Now this is my vacation, and I was meaning to get the most out of it because I got a job with the government. One of them agencies that you ain't gonna find in no phone book. I'll be quite frank with you, it's a kind of stressful job, and I was hoping to get some relaxation over here in Hawaii and watch some of the surfing. The next morning, when I got to the beach, I was hoping to see some good waves. And I got to say, I was not disappointed.
I went up to the North Shore to catch a pipeline ride. I went up to the North Shore to catch a pipeline ride. It was overhead and pounding when I paddled outside.
Well, the next morning it was looking pretty good. Some of the fellows was out there real early. These two guys with these big longboards. Actually, three of them, but I only saw this guy once. Just after that wave there, he'd had enough. Anyway, them longboarders and some of these short boarders, and some body surfers, boogie boarders, and who knows what kind of boarders was all out in the water, having a good time. Now, I used to do a little surfing out in California back in the early 60s. And used to ride them longboards, but I thought they'd all gone away. Sure enough, there's still some out there riding them boards. Now, I sat down next to this fellow named Brian, and Brian told me there was a lot of famous people out here surfing. Well, since I figured they was all Hawaiians, and I didn't know any of them, they might be famous to some people, but they wasn't famous to me. Then Brian told me that there was people from all over the world out here surfing. Might even be some from Texas. So I began to pay a bit more attention to see if I could spot any famous Texans. You might want to look and see if you can spot any famous people, but heck, I don't know if any of these guys is famous or not, but they're all pretty good surfers, and they look like they're having a good time. That's what it's all about. Ooh, a nice sharp wrap on the ankles. Now I like this guy. He had him some real style, especially his pull-out. Yeehaw! Now there he is. There is a famous Texan. Believe it or not, folks, that man is famous all over the country. And the next time we see him on the screen, I'll tell you who he is. Now this guy here seemed to be getting quite a lot of rides. It seemed like he knew what he was doing. I don't know, I believe he probably surfed here before.
Sit over here with me.
this old boy lined himself up, went straight in without flinching. This old boy here on this red board, I've seen him almost every day. He was there early in the morning till late at night. Never gave up. Whoo-wee, this seemed to be like the biggest wave of the morning, and this old boy got it, got right back off it again. I guess he didn't see no feature in staying on that wave. Well, there he is, folks, the famous Texan. Folks, I believe that is Mr. Waylon Jennings. Now, Waylon's a famous country western singer in Texas and other parts of the world. And I was quite surprised to see him at the Bonsai Pipeline. But we ain't seen him doing no singing in Texas for quite some time. So that explains where he's been. And when I got back to Texas, I told everybody, and they was surprised as I was. Now, some folks on the beach told me that we're still having some problems with people dropping in on each other here at the Bonsai Pipeline. Now, there's Waylon again. Look at him go. Man, that's a big old boy. This fella here got him a nice long ride and didn't seem to be too badly disturbed by the falling water. Now, as you can see, most of the people go left on these waves, but a few of them go right. And a lot of them go straight down after that wall of water hits them right on the head. There's my boy on the red board, boy, now look at him go. Well, look at here. Now, this is what that surfer might be looking at down underwater after the wave pushed him down onto the reef. Look at that giant clam. Now, I stood here for quite some time waiting to see that sucker open up, but it never did. You might be waiting for somebody to put their foot on it, but I decided not to do that. Now, these are some of the other things that a surfer might see down there on the reef while he's fumbling around trying to find his way to the surface. A lot of pretty fish, some coral, and look at them caves. Now, they tell me there's some pretty big caves down there on that reef at Bonsai Pipeline. You might find yourself inside one. Best thing to do is try and get on back out as quick as you can and go up there for some oxygen. Now there's every surfer's favorite nightmare, some sharks. Now they'll be cruising around down there just below the surface, but you can't never see them because they don't usually come up and reveal themselves. Now there's kind of goofy looking fish might be swimming around the reef, and man, I don't know what you call that thing. But here is my personal favorite, Mr. Eel. Now, Mr. Eel be down there lurking in some of them small caves, so you don't want to be fumbling around with your hands looking in there because you might come across Mr. Eel looking out. Ooh, look at them teeth. My goodness, if he bit you, he just wouldn't let go. Well, that afternoon, we went back to where we was staying in the lap of luxury, and where we had a beautiful view of Honolulu. After we ate and cleaned up the house a little, we went out on the beach where we had a beautiful view of the sunset. There was some sailboats out there on the water, and it all looked so beautiful. We was thankful to be here, and we was enjoying all the beautiful things that we could see. I told everyone to go to bed early that night, 'cause we would be getting up at dark 30 to head on back up to the North Shore so we could see some more surfing. Well, the next morning at dark 30, just like I told everyone the night before, we was up and out of bed and driving north to the shore. Well, one nice thing about early in the morning is you can drive about as fast as you want because there's no one out to regulate your speed. But we passed through Haleiwa, and at 6 o'clock we stopped at the McDonald's and got us some egg McMuffins. And we went on by the Waimea Bay and checked the surf there. Of course, we stopped at Sunset Beach again because that was the place you could check the waves the easiest, just sitting in your car. It was pretty dark, but I set up my camera anyway and attempted to take some surfing videos of the activity at Sunset Beach. Well, the folks out at Sunset Beach was having them a good old time. But when it got a little lighter, we packed up again and decided to head on back down to the Bonsai Pipeline where we could check out the activities there. My boy Richard picked up the camera and shot some beach scenery while I prepared the big camera for the surfing video activities. Well, things was getting off to a right good start that morning. People was flying everywhere. Body surfing, wipeouts. My goodness, we had it all. Well, there was that old boy we saw yesterday, riding that big old longboard. You know, he's up early in the morning. And there's my boy on the red board again. I'm telling you, this guy just kept on surfing. Now this fella here seemed to have somewhat of an attitude toward the waves. And I didn't see him back out again.
Sport surfing's too glamorous.
That was my boy Brian. I met him that day on the beach again, and he sat down next to me and explained to me many of the aspects of surfing here on the Bonsai Pipeline. Now this fella here spent a lot of time at the beach during the days I was here, and he'd get on that wave and get into that tube and just take it like a man. This next wave coming up was a pretty good sized wave, and the old boy on the big old longboard got it ahead of everybody. There was a fair amount of contending for these waves, but you just had to be in the right place at the right time and exhibit enough strength to get into that wave. Now there was one of the inevitable casualties of riding at the Bonsai Pipeline. They'd be breaking their boards right and left down there. Woo-hoo. Well, this morning we thought we'd try something different. And I went ahead and set up my camera and let my wife run the other one.
That's what he gets for dropping in on him. That's what he gets.
And now's my boy Brian making some more of his succinct comments about the activities going on out here in the water. Now this was, I thought, was an interesting Hawaiian sociological phenomenon. Apparently when two fellows was on a wave and they wasn't happy with each other's presence, they would assume a squatting position and demonstrate to one another their unhappiness. I saw this several times, and if I see it again, I'll try and call it out to you. Anyhow, my wife and I separated, and she stayed right where you can see the camera is now, and I went down the beach and set up my other camera with my huge telescope that I attached to it so as that we might get the close-up. Now here them boys is doing that squatting again. Now these two boys let their animosity grow to actual physical contact. I think they was just funning, but you can't never tell from that distance. Now this old boy here had a propensity for getting into them tubes and riding as far as he could. Now there was the odd bodyboarder flying through the air occasionally, bringing amusement to all on the beach. Now with all them fellas going that other way, this guy decided to go his own way, and he was a right smooth surfboard rider. Anyway, all these pictures here my wife has taken, and this is her first time ever taking any kind of surfing video, or much any other kind of video that I can remember. And I think she deserves some congratulations because she held that camera pretty steady. Now here's the first one that we shot together. Now watch this roll, boy. He ducked down, but he stood up a little too soon. Yee-haw! that fella again that can ride them tubes. Now, this guy here had an interesting way of dismounting. Notice how some of these fellas be wearing their t-shirts out in the water. I don't know if that's to help their friends on the shore identify them, or they were so excited in the morning they forgot to take off all their clothes before they went in the water. Now look at here. There's old Waylon again. He was there this day just like he was the day before. Boy, that old boy can really surf. I never knew he had it in him. Okay, these are the last couple of waves my wife took that morning, and I think they were so pretty I had to show them again. If you see hers, you need to tell her what a good job she did taking these videos. Now this next ride was such a crowd pleaser that I went ahead and stuck it in here again because everyone appreciated it on the beach. Now that afternoon the waves seemed to pick up a little. We saw some mighty fun rides. Saw some pretty good wipeouts too.
Well, I'm working my job every night and day. I'm going ballistic if I don't get some waves. White sand beaches on a tropical shore, with the coconut trees and the ocean roar. Well, I've got some time off, but it ain't gonna last. So I'm going surfing, gonna have a blast.
Now this old boy here got quite a few good rides that afternoon, and due to his unique style, I began to call him Slouch. Now there he is again. But old Slouch weren't no slouch when it came to riding these pipeline waves. This old boy here tried to take off and fly like a bird. Almost made it. Here goes old Slouch again. Look at him go. Ooh, the waves was getting even bigger. at him go. All right, it's about the biggest wave of the day. And my boy here just says no problemo. Ooh, he almost took his head off with the pointed board there. Yeah, the wipeouts just kept on coming. Oh well, you can always dream. Now look at here. Here comes old Waylon again. Waylon don't never quit. Go, Waylon, go. Well, the sun was starting to go down, but it didn't look like anybody was going to quit and come out of the water. There was as many people out now as there was earlier in the afternoon. Ooh, did you see that? Tried to do him a complete circle on his surfboard. Yeah, it was getting so dark that the photographers had to put flash bulbs on their cameras just so they could take a picture. Now this fella had been out all day the day before, and he just never got tired. And look at Waylon. Folks, I'm proud of Waylon. Representing Texas the way he does, never comes out of the water. Well, it was starting to get awful dark now. And I was waiting for them folks to come in, but it looked to me like they was going to stay out there all night. So I had to get ready and put my camera away because I could no longer take video because it was getting too dark. And look at there, still people going out. Well, the batteries on my camera was getting low, so I packed up my stuff and walked off the beach. As I was walking through the alley behind the houses, I spotted this kid wearing some night vision goggles. Well, I have some familiarity with this equipment, so I stopped to ask him what he was doing. He said he was going surfing. I asked him why he was surfing in the dark, and he said because it was cool. Well, I had me a little bit of night vision equipment with me, so with what little battery power I had left, I went back down to the beach and documented this activity. The next time you're down at the beach after dark, look out there and see if you can't see these night surfers doing their thing. Well, the next morning, we was back down on the beach again, and Richard was out filming the beach scenery. The waves was coming in, and things was happening.
We got some awesome out here.
Nut jump parachute combat zone. Don't even think about ever going home. Crack bang tracer rounds near to the ground. Feel the surge coming up from your bones. Adrenaline junkies, addicted to thrills, charging the limit, never paying the bills. The pain and discomfort, just to hear them complain. When it comes to the next time, they'll do it again. Yes, they will. No, not one, just kick the door down. Running through dark hallways, waving guns around. Suspects looking like they want to run, but the juice is there and you look just like a gun. Adrenaline junkies, addicted to thrills, charging the limit, never paying the bills. For pain and discomfort, just to hear them complain. But when it comes to the next time, they'll do it again. Yes, they will. Adrenaline junkies, addicted to thrills, charging the limits, never paying the bills. A pain and discomfort, just to hear them complain. addicted to thrills, charging the limits, never paying the bills. The pain and discomfort, just to hear them complain. When it comes to the next time, gonna do it again, guess they will.
Well, the waves was coming in, and the rides was fantastic. I put on my big telescope on my camera again so that I could get some close-ups. Now watch this old boy. He went into the tube with his board, but his board came out alone. And this fella here had him a camera on his head. Ooh, I wonder what kind of picture he got. And there he is taking a picture of his friend. I really like that pullout. That was the smoothest backside pullout I've seen in years. Now this old boy here was doing pretty good. He was having a little trouble with that cutback though. There's that old boy that was riding the longboard, back again today. Not doing too bad either. Now here comes that boy that was having a problem with a cutback. And look how he solved his problem. Now, while I was on the beach, I met these folks who asked me that if I did make a surfing video, if they could put a little bit of a advertisement in the middle of it. So I said, okay. So here's the Ride the Wave Foundation with the message that a wave is a terrible thing to waste.
Hi, I'm a famous celebrity speaking for the Ride the Wave Foundation. Did you know that around the world every night there are surfers who are going to bed without having ridden a decent wave all day, all week, all month, all their lives? The Ride the Wave Foundation is dedicated to helping these underprivileged souls by sending them to great surfing spots around the world so that they too can enjoy the beautiful waves that so often go unridden. Won't you help this worthy cause? For only $1,000 a month, we can send a wave challenge surfer to a surf spot like the Bonsai Pipeline, where he or she can learn to surf decent waves. Won't you help? For a mere $10 a day, you can participate in this worthwhile endeavor. You will have the satisfaction of knowing that your surfer is having the time of his or her life, riding waves that they had only dreamed of until the Ride the Wave Foundation entered their life. For $15 a day, your surfer will write you a letter every week telling you about their surfing experiences. For $20 a day, your surfer will send you the letters and a photo so that you can see your surfer and show the picture to your friends. Won't you help? Won't you help? Won't you help? Send all your money to the address shown on your screen. If you can't send money now, at least get out there and ride that wave. Take off, even if you don't think you can make it. Take the chop. A trip over the falls won't kill you. Remember, a wave is a terrible thing to waste. All right, where's my money?
Well, it was the last day I was going to be here in Hawaii. So we went up to the North Shore one more time. The swell had kind of come down. but it didn't detract at all from the surfing rides that we saw.
I went up to the North Shore to catch a pipeline ride. I went up to the North Shore to catch a pipeline ride. It was overhead and pounding when I paddled outside. Well, I dropped into a big one, made my turn and started to ride. Well, I dropped into a big one, made my turn and started to ride. I was in a big green barrel, and I was running for the light.
Well, all good things must come to an end. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And I want to encourage you all, if you like to sit around and watch these surfing movies, get out there and surf. It ain't nothing but a thing.
For a wave that they could ride. And when the wave starts breaking, one goes left and one goes right. Lots of cameras on the shoreline, just like living in a zoo. Oh, lots of cameras on the shoreline, just like living in a zoo. Watch your step while you are riding, 'cause they're in the water too. Well, the waves here are so perfect. That's what we all came here for. Oh, the waves here are so perfect. That's what we all came here for. And after you have surfed the pipeline, oh, the rest becomes a bore. Well, I'm going back to Texas, 'cause there's nothing left to do. Yeah, I'm going back to Texas. Guess there's nothing left to do. I'll ride the ripples down in Corpus till I forget these pipeline blues.
Hey dudes, how'd you like the flick? Pretty cool, huh? Now I bet some of you out there was wondering how you could get a copy for your friends. Well, just write down the telephone number or the address on your screen and get them a copy. Now, there might be one or two of you out there who was thinking, we'll just hook up our VCRs together and make some copies. That wouldn't be cool. Now, we know the FBI ain't got time to come around and investigate things like that. And we know the FBI ain't gonna come and visit you. But I will.
El guapo dice, cállate. La chulita dice, olé. Borrachos me dicen, váyase. Pendejos me dicen, me dicen, váyase.